from the new recording lair located deep beneath the Wine and Spirit store in Ephrata, Pennsylvania.
You're listening to the Masonic Light Podcast.
Studio 665 presents Masonic Light Podcast. This show is recorded by Masons, for Masons. It is for entertainment purposes only. And please, no wagering.
This podcast is not endorsed by any Grand Lodge, and the ridiculous ramblings of the hosts are their own. And now, here's your host.
Hey, everybody. It's Tim.
I'd like you to know that I retracted a really bad joke just then.
Yeah, I don't know why. I could see you were holding on to something.
It was a total ding.
I could see that. You got to tell me during a break. That's great. Welcome to Masonic Light Podcast, episode number 137.
What? 137.
Do you know this month we begin our 7th year?
No.
Again, we keep adding a year every 2 months.
I know.
How does that happen?
Mathematically, somebody told me it was our 7th year.
It's the Chaldean oracles that are doing that.
No, it actually is. If you go back and look at the dates of these, that's amazing.
Yes.
We're now measuring the show by the Julian calendar.
That's right. Yeah. So we have a great episode in store for you tonight. We're missing one of our own. Pete is on assignment. Actually, he is on
the fatherland.
He is in the fatherland. He's on a well-deserved and...
No, wait a minute. It's not his fatherland. He's Italian.
Well, that's true. He's Italian. He's not in Italy. Sorry about that.
It's an Axis thing. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's complicated. It's really complicated.
He's heading down the Rhine River right now, we think. So, anyway, great that he and Stephanie could get away for that. And we're going to try to keep the wheels on at least as poorly as we normally do. Tonight's episode is brought to you by our patrons on Patreon.
Huzzah.
Yes, and we are so appreciative of our patrons. And for as little as $1 a month.
That would be $1.
$1 a month. You could be a contributor and supporter of this fine, fine podcast. Tonight's guest is Brother Tommy Long Jr. We're looking forward to discussing Freemasonry with him. Tommy is a member of Chosen Friends Lodge.
Number 43.
Number 43. I should remember that.
43. How hard is that to remember? Come on.
And for those of you in central Pennsylvania going, wait a minute, Lodge 43 is in Lancaster. You're going to learn a little bit more about that in a little bit. But before we begin, we normally go around the horn and see what's been going on since we last gathered. Jack, why don't you start us?
Since last we met.
Remember that?
Very little Masonically speaking.
That's not true.
No, we had a stated meeting last night, Tuesday night, second Tuesday, 7:00. Be there, aloha. We had a very short stated meeting by design. Get in, do the business, read the petitions, get out, close the lodge, and then we went downstairs for our speaker, who was Mark Pearlstein. Mark is a past Worshipful Master and past Right Worshipful Grand Senior Warden of the Grand Lodge of Maryland. And Mark was one of those people that I met when we started our relationship with Amicable St. John's number 25 in Cockeysville, Maryland. So we've participated with each other all these years, 15 years anyway. And Mark came up and gave a great presentation on the similarities between Passover and Easter, which many people who are students of religion understand the congruency there. But then he turned it into Freemasonry, which was an interesting twist that I have never applied to it. So it was a really interesting meeting. We had great attendance. And I'm going to shout out to the guys in the line who listened to this show. This is from me to you. The ritual that I saw last night was probably the best I have ever seen in my 16 years of Freemasonry. You guys were spot on. You care what you're saying. You do it well, and you know that it matters. And I love you for that. So thank you and congratulations. You guys rock.
Awesome. Larry, how about you? What have you been up to Masonically since we last met?
What about
I'm giving him a heads up so he can prepare for this.
He's checking his calendar
Yes.
like he learned from Tim.
Lodge meeting. Josh wasn't there again.
I'm shocked, I tell you.
Executive board meeting for Tall Cedars. What else? Goose and Gridiron. That's pretty much it.
Good. All right. Brother Tommy, what have you been up to Masonically in the last few weeks?
This past weekend, the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania, Prince Hall, we went through our mid-year service this past Friday and Saturday. So,
What happens at a mid-year service?
that's basically where all the Masons in the state of Pennsylvania, the Prince Hall Masons, are supposed to report. You're required, all senior wardens, excuse me, let me say this right. All worshipful masters,
There's no pressure here, Tommy.
all worshipful masters, senior wardens, and junior wardens
All right.
are mandated, and as part of your charge when you take another position, to report
Grand Lodge quarterly.
all
is
Grand
basically what you're
Lodge
saying.
sessions.
Okay,
Great.
cool.
Awesome. Josh, we know you didn't go to your stated meeting.
I didn't go to stated meeting.
What else haven't you done?
What
Josh?
else haven't you done?
Well, I have participated in committee discussions
Okay.
and the behind-the-scenes running of things. So,
That's a
I've
good
been doing that
taskmaster
stuff.
activity.
yeah.
Sounds very Illuminati to me.
Yes.
Anything I should know about?
No.
I would have talked to you already.
So it's actually been a very busy couple of weeks Masonically for me. They laugh at me because I rattle off this.
It comes off so easy, but it's all off. He's got a calendar. I mean, who's got a calendar?
Color-coded calendar, no less.
Who has a calendar on their phone? Gosh, imagine that. It's amazing.
So back on the at the end of March, I did a training with the 50th Masonic District, which is over in the Allentown area on Grandview. Met with a couple secretaries and treasurers that were unable to meet with our face-to-face meeting. Let's see, what else have we had going on? Eureka West Shore Lodge number 302 held its stated meeting on the 4th of April. And the high note on that, in addition to it being a district deputy visit, was our oyster feed, where we had about 60 folks present for that.
All survived?
All survived.
Nice. It's good to know with an oyster feed.
It's always a good sign
Absolutely.
that you got some good oysters when nobody reports.
Follow up is 3 days later.
That's right. Exactly. Let's see. What's since then? Last Friday, I was at the Valley of Harrisburg for the Lodge of Perfection meeting, where I'm in one of those chairs, and some great things going on there in the Valley. One thing I didn't mention.
Oh, do tell us.
And I think, well, Larry wasn't there. Josh wasn't there, but Jack was there. We had Ubar Grotto since we last met. We had a meeting of Ubar Grotto, and prior to that, PERMOUSE. Oh, sorry. Cigar Lodge number 1 met at Union Cigar in Gettysburg. And that was really a nice shop. We have a brother that actually owns that place, and he took really good care of us. We had, 35 or so folks upstairs in their lounge, which I'm glad 65 didn't show up. But you missed a great time. Brother Fuad and Romy from Hiram Solomon was there.
Easy now. Easy.
I don't know. But I have gifts from them.
But not here or right now.
No, they're in my car. They're in my car. They upped on sponsorship for Masonic Light Podcast.
Oh, attaboy.
So they will continue as the official cigar of the Masonic Light Podcast.
Boom.
Anyway.
Good, because I was going to have to start rolling my own.
That's right. No, that's never a good idea. That's never a good idea. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk to a very interesting guest tonight, a good friend of mine, Brother Tommy Long, who is a Prince Hall Mason, member of Chosen Friends Lodge number 43 in Harrisburg.
43.
Tommy Talk.
Why choose George J. Grove & Sons for your next home improvement project? At George J. Grove & Sons, we've built our reputation on quality and trust for more than 50 years. For planning to materials to installation, George J. Grove promises a home improvement experience second to none. Whether your goal is reducing energy costs, decreasing maintenance, updating curb appeal, or simply increasing the value of your home, the George J. Grove team will recommend and provide solutions that stand the test of time. Call 717-393-0859 for an estimate or visit us at georgejgrove.com.
And we're back. Tonight's special guest is Brother Tommy Long Jr. from Chosen Friends Lodge number 43 in Harrisburg. Welcome, Tommy. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you.
So we want to talk about a whole host of things related to you being a Mason, Prince Hall Masonry, et cetera, et cetera. So why don't you start by just telling us, how did you get into Masonry to begin with?
I guess the easiest way to put it is the strong religious background that was in my family, and certain uncles and cousins as growing up, whether they were older or younger. Of course, you took notice they had a certain jewelry on, ring on, and but there'd be times they'd tell you, no disrespect, but you need to step away for a minute or two.
We have some mumbling to do now.
We have some conversations we need to have.
What's going on with this? But, all of them had very good trait about them, but, whether they were younger than me or older than me, uncles, friends, there was just something about them, not just that ring, because not all of them were ring jewelry. But it was something about them in that group when they would meet each other. It's just the way they came up and, that hand just went out, and it's like, wait a minute, how come I can't get that kind of greeting? And eventually I put two and two together, and actually I called it a gang. They're all in some kind of gang.
Well,
But then eventually, got invited to events, and that's, wait a minute. You're a Mason? What is a Mason? And one thing led to another. And eventually, like they said, when you're ready for Masonry, it's going to always be there. And then that's when you'll come to it. And they were all there for me.
Great.
And I came back and told them.
How long ago was that?
That was February 12th, 2011.
Oh, 2011. Okay, so about 11 years.
All right.
That's great. Talk to us about kind of, and again, if you asked me to talk about the history of Masonry in the United States, I'd struggle with this. But particularly as it relates to Prince Hall Masonry, I know most of our viewers can Google this stuff too. So tell us about just Prince Hall Masonry general.
101.
Wow. To bring people up to speed and the listeners, Prince Hall Masonry. A lot of people ask, what is a Prince Hall Mason? Prince Hall Masonry was, how can I put it, put in place, and I would not be a Prince Hall Mason if it was not for what Prince Hall himself went through when he came here to the States. No men of color were accepted in any of the free Mason lodges here in the United States. Mm-hmm. Over a course of different letters and requests, basically it was deemed from the Mother Lodge you will give him a charter so he can start and form his own lodge, or we're coming over here and take everybody's charter and shut you all down in the United States. Therefore, that day, Prince Hall Masonry, named after the founder, was chartered.
And this all, I mean, for those that haven't done any study on it, this goes back to colonial era, and Prince Hall was an avid patriot and fought in numerous conflicts. in the Revolutionary War. So, and rightfully so, he expected to be accepted as a part of that culture.
Correct, because especially coming from London.
And unfortunately, it didn't happen. So he pressed on.
He pressed on, and he, even at being granted his charter and whatnot, there was other issues. Another big issue where the Grand Lodge that was formed underneath the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge was then not recognized and dropped, and from the books. And then later on, I can't remember exactly how many years it was after that, but they once again was re-granted their charter and reestablished and recognized officially as Most Worshipful Grand Lodge, Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania. Excuse me, not Pennsylvania.
Wasn't there?
It was in Massachusetts, right?
Massachusetts.
There we go.
Wasn't there a guy at the Academy of Masonic Knowledge who was kind of talking about that several years back?
Yes.
Well, Oscar Allen was one.
Right.
He talked about he got involved in some clandestine lodges when he was younger.
Yes.
And didn't realize what he was getting himself into.
That's right.
It just occurred to me, and I've never thought about this because why would I? But if Prince Hall knew enough to petition both the local lodge, the local Grand Lodge, and the Grand Lodge of England, was he already a Mason and just wanted to establish his own lodge?
You are correct.
Okay. I don't think I'd ever drilled down. Yeah.
When he came over here on the boat, he was already granted his title.
He was already a Mason at that point.
He was already a Mason.
He'd been raised. Okay.
Yes. And coming over here, he expected to receive the same brotherly love that he had before coming here.
Interesting.
And unfortunately, with the way the United States history was back then, in colonial times, he was still looked upon and rendered as, you're not worthy of Masonry. We're not going to recognize you,
Right.
because of the segregation that was going on. There's no. It can be a touchy subject for some people. It's not for me,
Right.
And a lot of us.
I wasn't there myself.
But not that I was there. But some people have difficulty talking about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
To me, it's better to ask for forgiveness later and take whatever comes your way now.
Well, and I think, as with everything, it's all about the context of what was going on at that time.
Exactly.
And it actually leads into, the history of our early years as a country. Even in the early colonies, were formed by various religious groups. You had the Quakers in Pennsylvania. You had the Catholics in Maryland. You had the,
Here's the thing with that. What happened was he went to General Gage, the British general, and said, I want to become a Mason, and Gage invited him to the military lodge, made him a master Mason, and they formed a lodge. But then 2 years later, he and his men fought with Washington against the British. I mean, whoa, holy moly.
There you go.
Yeah.
So moted P.
So I had asked this question before we recorded tonight. I want to ask it again because and the answer actually makes sense. But for our listeners who didn't hear me ask it the first time, as the United States progressed, as Masonry as we know it progressed, as Prince Hall Masonry progressed, our country went through those first 150 years in a very torn way, particularly in many of the southern colonies, later states, and so on. My understanding is a lot of those lodges that were formed in the South, in particular, held their meetings in churches.
Some held in church, some held near church. I can't think of the old hymnal that refers to that old oak tree.
Tie a yellow ribbon around.
No, that was much.
No.
That was
Sorry,
that was
later.
tornado.
That didn't make the
That's you're going to a totally different thing.
Never mind.
But there's a hymnal in reference to a tree, oak tree, by the church, and the reason they used to do that by the church is because that tree was a sense of strength. Because regardless of what they went through as a race or whatnot, a lot of times when they were lynched, they were hung from that tree right outside the church. So it tended to take more meaning to the slaves and whatnot, and so they tended to hold a sentimental value to them. So they would go there, and one thing or another, the church most of the time wasn't a direct, how can I put it, wasn't somewhere where they would actually want to burn down the churches just blatantly, but they tended to, if they did that, there was word to believe that somebody told them that they were Freemasons meeting in there, and Underground Railroad, which is believed, certain parts of it, to be tied in with Freemasonry, well, Oddfellows, and there's a couple other bodies. Well, we say that for a later time. But it's funny how it all ties into each other, because there's the Sojourner. But like I said, I know I'm crossing over different places and whatnot, but
the people that know will know.
Will know, and they
Right.
understand why.
Exactly.
Because when masonry is a part of your life, when you love it, live it, and I think that's a big key. You love it, you live it. It's a part of you.
Yeah.
And everybody that knows you and knows the craft are going to see that. And I think that was one of the things when certain churches, because they didn't burn a lot of churches, but they did burn some churches. And I think that was because they knew there was some kind of affiliation with something that they did not want. And the biggest thing being, they didn't want men of color learning, reading. And the biggest thing, if you learned, you had to learn how to read in order to be a Freemason.
Yeah.
So therefore, that was one way of keeping them where they wanted to keep it and keeping masonry out of their hands.
So in today's world, how much of that like future knowledge stuff is a part of Prince Hall Masonry, like the esoteric study, we make good men better. Yeah, how do we do that? We there's something in there that does it, but we're not really sure what or how. But
well, once again, you're correct. The biggest thing is you have to be I don't want to say a good judge of character. With Prince Hall Masonry, the education and learning, the constant learning and keeping it fun so that you can learn and grow with your knowledge of masonry and the history behind you, but you got to also grow as an individual, because it's every person learns different, and no two people's lives are the same. So your journey ain't going to be the same as my journey in masonry.
Right.
And
how big a part of the learning, and by learning I mean like the ritual work. How much of the learning is a part, do you think, of the man's development as he becomes a more mature Mason in his career? I mean, how important do you think that part of it is?
I think that is very important, because it's without that reading. I just read a thing.
Just so you know, this is a past master talking. So I think I know what his opinion's going to be. But
Mackey wrote a thing about Masons who read and Masons who don't read, or something like that.
Okay.
But we all know that if you're not reading and studying and learning on your own, not just in that environment class,
right,
you're not going to grasp what the bulk of the individuals are talking about, because you're not teaching you got to teach yourself and learn for yourself to be able to take part of something that the conversation that's being taught.
I don't know if I don't mean to like steal.
Go right ahead. No,
Tim, but
go right ahead.
Because this education part of it and the deeper meaning of what does this mean that we're talking about? Why is it important that we learn these words and that kind of stuff? I'm just curious if that is being taught in Prince Hall the same way I'm trying to teach here, and I think a lot of the lodges around
yes. And the reason that's important is because there's no way to get away from it.
Just you be you.
The Bible. All right. We all have some kind of book that we all, no matter what your religion is, higher being, and that you turn to and you read. I think it makes you turn into your religion and your self-awareness more, because the more you get into that, the studying is going to go hand in hand. That's just as you said, as being a past master, and you're going to always have to cross-reference something, whether it's in a book, online, or by casually conversating, like how you're questioning me as a past master. That's the thing past masters do. But it's not to discourage you. It's to help make you feel at ease, at the same time help you to talk about it, and so that others can see that, hey, he is learning something, but at the same time, maybe I can learn something from him, because he has a different perspective.
2 people have come up to me or us at the lodge, and they would point at their friend and say, I don't know what you did to him, but I want that. And that's our biggest recruiting tool. That's friends who look at friends and go, what the hell happened to you?
It's when the individuals can see that in another individual just from that conversation or whatever you're having with them, they're like,
that's the best testimony there is.
That's a testimony there is, and it's life-changing. And that's the best thing I can say, because, and once again, as a Prince Hall Mason, I've gone to other lodges, and as I say, accept the punishment later.
It's not being recorded.
Yes, it is. It is.
We all know that we're supposed to travel.
Sure.
And
huge.
In order to travel, that's work. But we also know we're supposed to put in work as a Mason.
Right.
And you put in that work by bettering yourself so that you can be out there in the community, because represent and giving back to charity.
Right.
True.
But without crossing too many lines,
we haven't gotten a letter from Grand Lodge in a long time. So
how many bodies would you like to offend right now?
That's right.
I'm just saying.
I'm a strong believer in, and I tell individuals, Masonry is nothing to play with. I get offended, and I take it very personal when individuals are not serious with this, and you can tell when it's not part of them.
We just told Tommy he can't use his hands, and now
well, he can use his hands.
He's doing a little Ricky Ricardo thing on the table that was
the preacher was coming out of him. He was banging on the pulpit.
But it's
Babaloo.
There's just so much, and like right here, where else can you get this brotherly love? And
you know something here, bro.
It's through Masonry that it helps also build your character, the friendship you make, the brotherhood grow stronger. And as a Prince Hall Mason, I've learned, and it's one of my goals, which we all know that they've been doing in numerous states, that both Grand Lodges are signing a treaty acknowledging each other.
Oh yeah, We're going to talk about that, yeah.
So it's my own personal thing. For my own personal note, for me, has always been to do what I can do for myself, and both for Masonry, Freemasonry, and I'm going to say that Freemasonry in general.
Right.
And I want to keep the other titles out of it, for Freemasonry in general, because when all said and done, we are all Freemasons.
That's where it is.
There it is.
That's where it's at, right there.
That's it.
Cool. All right, let's take it. Why don't we take a quick break, and we'll listen to some plea for money from one of our various advertisers who help keep this running.
We'll be right back. As far back as the mid-1800s, records exist describing the pre-meeting tradition of brethren smoking cigars during and after gatherings. To this day, the practice of smoking cigars remains very much alive in many lodges. This custom is considered a time for brethren to relax, exchange ideas, and enjoy the simplicity and fellowship that is the very essence of our brotherhood. This is what Hiram Solomon Cigars is all about. Our starting principles are to bring Masonic brethren together in the harmony of a good cigar. Pull up a chair, sit back, light up any of our premium cigars, and enjoy the history. Hiram Solomon Cigars can be found at fine cigar retailers. For a complete list, visit HiramandSolomonCigars.com or check them out on social media to find out when they'll be at a live event near you. Hiram Solomon Cigars is pleased to be the official cigar of the Masonic Light Podcast. And we're back. Tonight's guest is Brother Tommy Long Jr. From Chosen Friends Lodge number 43 in Harrisburg. Tommy, you mentioned earlier about the significance of travel, and I think that's something that we would all agree to helps broaden the learning and helps us all become better aware of our communities and so on.
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, 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 blah. I know within the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania, within the state of Pennsylvania, for example, any Mason can go to another lodge, simply present their dues card, and obviously if they've sat with somebody, they're good, and if they've not, then they go through a little exam. What's the procedure? Is it any different within Prince Hall if someone wanted to attend one of your meetings?
Well, there's only really two differences. There's to the best of my knowledge, one, if you have ever sat with a brother at that lodge, and it doesn't have to be his own lodge if you've ever sat for that way, because then, therefore, he can vouch for you. Mm-hmm. So that avoids even going through all that. But that still is at the discretion, technically, of the lodge.
Yes.
That committee that comes out to do the examination, because regardless, they still want to see a dues card. The only time there's a major thing before the dues card and your question, but I can tell you, if you don't have a dues card,
don't go, because you ain't getting
There's a new thing in our
as long as they stick by
getting your card stamped.
Yeah,
now,
it has to have that raised seal.
Oh yeah,
and with that now that's not to say the most worship grab. Any past most worship grandmaster walks in with you. Hey, look, he's with me.
That's right.
I don't think there's going to be a question.
Sir, yes, sir.
Well, and see, that's interesting because in Pennsylvania, our dues cards do not have that raised seal anymore.
Well, mine does.
It's interesting.
Because we found the steel.
It is a it's a watermark because of the way they do the printing now. Yes.
Well, with ours, it on the Prince Hall side, everything. Let me put it this way. It is a legal document because it has the lodge's name and it has the Grand Lodge name on it.
Yep.
Therefore, every lodge will have their seal on it.
There you go.
Because that seal is registered.
If you are going to visit a Prince Hall Lodge, and frankly, if you're going to visit out of state, this is a good idea to our listeners.
Then you're talking about...
Take your dues card to your secretary and have him put the seal on your dues card in Pennsylvania.
Or just take it out in the parking lot and put some rocks down.
And step on it.
You just stomp on it, and it looks just the same. That works too.
Don't do that.
And then there's other little stipulations. If you are a Grand Lodge officer,
Okay.
then there's a whole another level of which you had to do. Don't even get me. I forget the acronym. They're not
Well-
JCC something. But using,
Wait, you're going to the JCC? What is that? What?
I can't even remember the acronym for them. But it is a specific position and title where they. Normally, you would just get a hold of your Worshipful District Deputy Grandmaster,
Right.
who would then take it from to the next step. Because when it's a Grand Lodge officer, as a matter of respect to
Out of protocol.
right? And now we're talking Constitution.
Yeah.
There's a certain procedures
And that's even true
stuff.
among our district deputies. If they visit outside of their own
No,
district,
they're
they
supposed-
have to notify folks. They have to provide protocol and so on. So,
And they wear pants.
And they wear pants. So talk a little bit about your journey. You became a Mason. You got in. You've obviously been through the chairs because you're a past master.
Yes.
What was that like?
There was different positions I can say I had more fun with than others. I can say there was a time I didn't like the steward position
Okay.
because you literally were bossed around. you were a maid, housekeeper, hostess, whatever they needed you to be. But you had that was another step in making you humble, and also. Once again, charity. You were showing charity work to your brothers.
And you got to know the people.
Yep. But at the same time, I became senior deacon. I love that because in all of the degree work we go through, it doesn't matter which position pillar is talking and doing what they got to do. You can't go nowhere without the senior deacon. Therefore, your travel as
He carries
when
you
you
around,
come into
yeah.
masonry. Oh, sorry. You got to start nailing it home, driving it home.
Damn it, Tommy, we told you not to do that anymore.
The shocking truth is, there's no degree work done without him.
Right.
If Pete was
At
here,
all.
he'd be turning red right now.
So that was one position I loved because you, as the senior deacon, whether guys noticed it or not, it took me a while when I'm listening to other guys in that position and whatnot, that I realized before I got there, wait a minute. By the time you become senior deacon, you're supposed to know all the stations. And then it's like, oh, I better really start getting cracking. Because, your certain positions you knew because you were paid a little bit more attention to this, depending on who was there. Because it also comes down to that. The person that was in front of you, they also help influence you to want to, I want to be as good as that person or even better.
That's the best when you've got that going on.
Yeah,
in your mind, that's the best.
And I was fortunate enough as I worked my way around, I had a young gentleman coming right behind me that from the day he came into masonry, I saw that fire in him that was in me when I first came in, and he helped continue to keep that drive and passion in me. And made me want to, because he would come ask me questions. What book should I read? Blah, blah, blah. He asked me 30 questions. I had to already think I had 60 answers to anticipate what questions he's going to ask. But when it's all said and done, the best thing and the best time for me was when I got up there to the east and became Worshipful Master, because wasn't scared to speak, but that's when I truly learned.
Really? We're shocked. We're shocked.
That's when I truly learned that, as they call it, the hot seat. It's not the hot seat because of this or that. You have to take self-inventory and be aware that it is your job. Everything starts and finishes with you in that position.
Yeah.
It is your job, your responsibility to put the craft at work. And as we say, their learning begins with you, by them watching you. Yeah. You got new members in, what are they doing? They're watching everybody. They're taught that the worshipful master runs the lodge. So if they see that you don't feel like you want to be there or your heart's not in it, that's when they tend to want to just walk away or whatnot.
So is it kind of similar in Prince Hall? Because I'm sort of in a compare and contrast mode here. Mm-hmm. Like, it seems like there's a lack of education for the incoming masters. No offense to anybody who's been a past master, but it just seems like there's not nearly enough training on how to run an organization as there should be, and they're just kind of left adrift in that position. And I don't know. Is it?
I think it is up to. How can I put it? The old saying is, a lot of people like to say, the past masters run the lodge. Well, they don't. They don't. Yeah, but that
worshipful has been is what we call it.
No, but they don't. In reality, is the members that run the lodge.
That's really the secretary, but don't tell him.
But I said no. That's the secretary and the one that has all the power. When it's all said and done, the secretary.
Y'all can run the lodge.
He who can destroy a thing.
That's right.
It is. I think there needs to be more. Well, there is now, because they have what we have, Prince Hall School of Instruction, online, and you learn all kinds of stuff from how to manage your meeting to furthering your education Masonically with your teachings, and you're given like a college course, homework,
Can we get a copy of that?
Really? Just slip it under the door at North Broad Street, and yeah.
And
what do you wait? Hang on, because Josh is our most recent past master.
Oh, okay.
We call him Lodge Killer, but
Lamberton Killer.
Anyway, Josh, did you feel qualified when you took the East?
Oh no.
No. Okay.
Yeah. No, when I was getting ready to go into my first full year as master, I think right before that is when Grand Lodge started the training programs. Mm-hmm. So, I did kind of have that training program as far as, it wasn't. I mean,
this is where the light switches are.
It was in depth, but it wasn't. It wasn't really something that I personally took much from. A curriculum.
So, but it sounds like in Prince Hall that you have a more developed program for that.
Yeah, it's. I actually, because of my regular usual vocation, I'm always in training and getting recertified.
Right.
And there's different OSHA certifications. And DEP and all this serious stuff that I had to do, and reading a bunch of dates and numbers that literally that stuff gets blank. So they already had already started 2022's class, Prince Hall University. Mm-hmm. But there's another one getting ready to start up, so that'll be the one I will be able to get into. And then I'll actually be able to see firsthand, because there's guys at my lodge that have already done it, participated. Like our current worship master did it last year during his first term.
And how's he doing right now? Let's throw him under the bus. Right?
He has to be able to go home.
What? Oh, okay. Never mind. I withdraw the question.
He is doing good.
Good.
I think. Well, I didn't ask. Him and a couple other individuals wanted to talk and tell, but I think they were instructed, you're not supposed to share that, because you're going to ruin it then for the next person that wants to come along and take it. Because it's not only teaching you, it's teaching you as a Mason to get you prepared, and want to hopefully encourage you, from my understanding with some people, it encouraged them to want to move around the chairs in their lodge. Travel.
Yeah.
And
it's all growth.
Your learning and your growth and all begins with traveling in your lodge. But it also, and go back to your question, Tim, traveling to other lodges. And lodges outside your district. And I mean any lodge, whether it's Prince Hall, Freemason Lodge.
Right.
I don't like having to use the difference because to try to break it up so people understand. But I've learned that no matter which lodge you go to, whether it's a Freemason Lodge or a Prince Hall Lodge, now I'm going to get myself.
Now you're all upset about it. I know he's being on the table again.
You know just as well as I do, because you know more Prince Hall Masons than just me. We have the same issues.
Sure.
Because it's Freemason.
Right.
You're going to have your... Oh. You're going to have your...
It's great. We're going to make this a fundraiser. At any time Tommy
like
pounds the table,
that's $1.
it's like you have to contribute $1 to the show.
Good drinking game.
Patreon.com/MLP.
Well, I think you're going to find... We both know that you're going to have those who are going to act out and not conform, I should say, to protocol. But
so, on a semi-related topic, did you have the same post World War II boom and now valley? So it's the same.
It's the valley of death. I go.
Amen.
And,
but we seem to be coming out of it. I don't know.
And that's exactly like we just did at our mid-year session. I think it was 146 on a one-day journey. In my lodge by itself, we brought 5 in, and I'll tell you what, it was an experience to see it done on that level.
In the venue, at the venue you were at,
right?
How many people became Masons that day?
146.
146.
Wow.
Yeah, a one-day journey.
Wow.
Okay.
So it's interesting you mentioned that because at dinner we were talking about what just happened in Ohio, where in one day across the state of Ohio they brought in like
7 million new Masons.
7 million new Masons. Actually 800 and some.
That's
how many listeners we have.
Yeah, really. And I'm sure they're the same issues about one-day classes.
Yes, it's
within Prince Hall, and
it's left up to the lodge to bring them up to speed.
Yeah,
but
you say that doesn't always happen?
No, I'm not going to say that it doesn't always happen because I can only speak for my lodge.
Yeah, sometimes
I can only speak for my lodge. You got to remember when that certain person that oversees us all says you are now entitled to all the rights, lights, and benefits, but it is responsibility of your lodge to educate you. Right there.
Maybe we should have.
That's the rolling downhill part.
Yes.
Right there. If the members that are in that lodge don't follow through with what they're supposed to do and educate that individual,
then that's on them.
That's on them, but at the same time, that hurts Masonry because that individual, I'm not learning nothing.
Right.
This isn't what I thought was going to be a brotherhood.
And I think that's something, Jack, you pointed out. I saw a post you made regarding that because you were, in fact, a one-day Mason. Correct?
I was. I came in 2004 on Grandmaster Slater's. It may have been the first class of one-day class. And I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 14, 32. Boom. One day. Done. Wham. I left and I was like,
"What the heck did I just do?"
What was that? That was not what my...
Did I just hear 32?
Yeah. That was not what happened to my father. That was the prevailing thought in my mind walking out to the car was, that is not the same path my father walked. Period. That was the end of it. I couldn't get around that. When I came to lodge here, it was instantly apparent that I had to go through the chairs in order for myself to respect my masonry. For me to respect myself as a mason.
And I think that's the key.
That was the personal challenge for me.
And once again,
is that we as lodge members cheat these brethren who, for whatever reason, have gone through a one-day class when we don't pick up that mantle and assist in the education that we got in whatever time period it took us to do
to go through
those degrees. I joined an organization, was invited to join an organization a month ago, and the degree work that they did for that was amazing. I in no way would have been ready for that, 17 years ago when I became a Mason. I wouldn't have been ready to have understood the 4th degree or any other Scottish Rite degree, certainly not the 32nd degree.
I had no idea what that stuff
on
was
the day I got a 1st, 2nd, 3rd degree. Yeah. And I mean, we've all seen that. I mean, for a couple of times, you could join a Blue Lodge, you could join Scottish Rite, and you could join the Shrine, all in one day. Bada bing, bada boom, done. And so I think if we're going to do that, then it is incumbent upon us as lodge members to help with that.
Yeah, that wouldn't happen. You're not going from.
So you mentioned earlier one of the ways I can always distinguish someone as a Prince Hall Mason is when they start talking about the different houses. That's a term that is almost exclusively a Prince Hall term. It's a much simpler description for us, but explain that to us, Tommy.
Well, there's 2 terms. Yes. You will hear houses or Masonic bodies.
Yes.
And I'm going to use Masonic body because now you corrected me, and I know not to use house.
Use whatever you want.
Use houses, though.
You can use the word phrase houses, but the correct wording should be Masonic bodies.
Right. But the slang, if you will, is the red house. Whatever house.
And well, I'm not going to say that because I tend to have an issue with those words because, as you already know, because anywhere show me in that first 3 degrees where it says blue.
Right. Correct. I have no idea what's happening in front of me right now. I feel like
he's putting stuff.
I'm playing Tetris with the wires.
I was going to say there's a Tetris game going on.
I'm having an OCD moment right here.
Studio here.
The tabletop here in the studio looks like a pit of vipers.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to organize the cabling here, which is
as we record our episode.
Okay.
So, talk about some of the bodies the appendant bodies that you're part of.
As you know, I'm a past master who's sitting back in as senior warden, who's elected and installed as senior warden. In my Holy Arch chapter, I am a past high priest.
As are Jack and I.
And I am now sitting in as excellent scribe. So I am still a pillar.
Okay.
In those 2 bodies, I am a pillar. Then let's go to Knights Templar.
Okay.
My commandery. I am Captain General there.
Okay.
So once again, I'm between that and my chapter, Holy Arch chapter, I am sitting in the same position.
Okay.
Is there similar mutual recognition among the
appendant
bodies that there is with the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania?
Yes. But they all know, and it's always made clear by the most worshipful Grand Master, that they are subordinate bodies.
Yes.
Yes.
Very much Grand Lodge.
Yes.
So that is the one phrase that is, no matter what most worshipful Grand Master we have in there, that term is always mentioned for one reason or another. And
there's only one.
But We don't need. None of us need to even state why that is.
Right.
No. Yeah. So then I was at Commandery. Now my consistory. I guess I should have named them. Chosen Friend number 43 is my lodge. My Harris chapter number 26 is my Holy Royal Arch chapter. Howard Linden number 17 is my commandery. Nimrod number 9 is my consistory, and I am the first lieutenant there. This is my first year as first lieutenant, but I have served as thrice potent master, which I won a couple years ago, thrice potent master of the year for Pennsylvania.
Very nice.
But that was also tied into my love for the Holy Royal Arch.
Yes.
It is cool work.
Yes, that is your spiritual house. So, that's no matter what is going on with you. Well, for me at that time being, it didn't matter if I was upset with work, this or that. That was the one subordinate body house that I did not miss, because that was the one place I could go to get that solemn relief. And
Nice. It's good to have a place for that.
I've actually got one more question. Of all the different appendant bodies that you've either participated in, have joined, etc., what's been your favorite degree or the most meaningful to you?
There is money on the line here.
Yes. Or do you have one?
I don't have just one, because and I can say this because, well, I guess if I gotta say it, here it is. It's first degree.
Okay. Good.
Because that's what started me on my journey.
Awesome.
Nice.
Great.
Well played, young man.
Absolutely. All right, well, we're going to take another quick break. We're going to come back and wrap up tonight's episode with Brother Tommy Long Jr.
Freemasonry marked another milestone this month when the Grand Lodge of Georgia and the Grand Lodge of Georgia, Prince Hall affiliation, shared mutual recognition and a ceremony of amity between their two great institutions. Congratulations to all our Georgia brothers. Welcome to the next chapter of true brotherhood. Now let's turn our attention to the handful of jurisdictions still living in the 19th century. Come on, brothers. Let's get this done. It's long overdue. That's the Masonic News. So mote it was.
Very good, Walter. Excellent. And congratulations as indeed to our brethren in Georgia.
Absolutely. This has been going on for a long time. I think the Grand Lodge of Georgia actually passed this resolution in 2021, sometime about mid-year. And it's just taken now to get all the ceremonies worked out and documents printed and, bling to be made and pens to give out and all the kind of stuff that goes with such a thing.
And something we learned, Hiram Solomon Cigars is having a special issued cigar commemorating that treaty.
The Grand Lodges of Georgia.
The Grand Lodges of Georgia, yes.
Outstanding. That's great.
Wow.
He wasn't allowed to, he showed me a picture of what the label would look like, but he wasn't allowed to actually show me the cigar because they were withholding it all till that day.
Very cool.
Yes.
Wow.
Very good.
It'd be a nice fundraiser for Masonic Light Podcast if we could get a box of those and sell them.
Well, we have.
We can't sell them, Larry. We are not.
We're not
selling.
But if somebody decides to take one and give a donation,
there you go, donation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
God, the IRS is going to be knocking on our door.
Like one of those magic prayer cloths they used to sell in the middle of the night on TV.
I knocked the foam. I didn't knock my hand.
All right, Larry, what do you got coming up the next couple of weeks?
Really, I have things at the beginning of the month and things at the end of the month. So really, other than breakfast, nothing.
Well, we're coming up at the end of the month. So what do you got coming up at the end of the month?
No, we're not. We'll have another show before the end of the month.
Not till the 27th.
Oh.
That would be the end
I guess
of the
I have
month.
tall cedars.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, tall cedars. Yes, that's right. That's right. Forgot about that. Ceremonial.
Okay.
Don't want to come to that.
I remember parts of that.
Jack, how about you? What do you got coming up?
Mostly personal stuff, really.
Just doing my thing at Lodge. I mean, my thing at Lodge is the new candidates coming through, and right now we've just graduated all our guys into the third degree, and we have one more. Actually, we have one in the chamber, right? And he is the father of our past master and his brother and the past master's son, who are all Freemasons already.
Okay, Brother Tommy, how about you? What do you got coming up Masonically in the next couple of weeks?
Okay, next week on Wednesday, I have a meeting. Thursday, another lodge. I have a lodge meeting. Friday, I have a chapter meeting on the 22nd. 23rd, I have a 5th district and joint banquet in which we are doing our lodges, as well as our Esther chapters are honoring individuals in my lodge. Chosen Friends, number 43, picked me as an honoree.
Aww.
So
nice.
So it'll be another busy week, and good thing
So
I
do you
have
just,
several black suits.
You just occasionally drive by your house and wave.
Well, when you meet my wife, you hear her say, he's happy with it. I know what it does for him and does to him and for us. Bye.
That actually reminds
my
me.
wife just says, "Don't you have another meeting?
Don't you have a meeting to go to?" Carol says that to
all the time.
Larry all the time.
She's laughing
Don't you have a meeting somewhere?
Josh, how about you?
I don't really have anything coming up. I'm just doing behind the scenes secret stuff.
Okay, Illuminati again.
Persona muy grati.
Going to Millersville Lodge number 476 in May?
Yep.
All right, great.
Vote no.
I may show up and sit with you.
I did.
Awesome. Actually, you mentioning your wife reminded me, because I actually got to meet your wife last week, and there was an event that we did not mention.
Dun, dun, dun,
and we'd get in trouble if we didn't pay homage for this. Oh, no, there's that too. Yeah. But we were actually at 150th banquet of a Royal Arch chapter, Newport chapter, that our good brother Eric Berger is the high priest of.
Yes.
I'd never been to a 150th banquet of a chapter before.
No.
And it was incredibly well attended. Mm-hmm. They had like 80 people there.
Nice. It was very nice.
The grand chapter people came in and did what they needed to do and made it quick.
Yes, they did. I mean, that was the quickest banquet. It was well fed.
Yes.
Everybody kept their talking to a minimum. And
we retired to the outer
It took us longer to get dressed to get there.
Yep.
See, that's a right meeting.
Yes, it is. It is indeed.
But it was very nice and well put. Yeah. And then also my wife, she discovered that one of her coworkers, husband and father-in-law, are Masons.
Nice.
How about that? So I've got coming up in the next couple of weeks, starting Sunday begins reunion rehearsal season for all Scottish Rite Masons.
Incidentally, not to butt in on your calendar.
And yet you do.
I reminded you.
I'm supposed to be at rehearsal tonight.
Oh, shh.
No, but that's okay. I think I let them know in time that I wouldn't. I don't have a speaking role, so I just have to know where my spots are.
Well, it's backstage, right?
Yeah.
Sitting in a chair.
No. I'm in the 18th degree.
Oh, you're in the 18th degree?
Yeah,
wow.
I'm in the play.
Okay, in the play.
Skits. Little rascals.
Okay, enough of that. Anyway, so we have reunion rehearsal season coming up literally for the next month, it seems. Wow. Council deliberation meeting at the Valley of Harrisburg Saturday, as well as First Capital York Rite College Cigar Lodge number 1. We'll be meeting at Best Cigar Pub on April the 24th. That is also the same night as Ubar Grotto. It's convivial, where all the meat you can eat, and we'll be inducting new people that night.
All the meat you can eat.
All the meat you can eat.
Yeah, this is meat sweats night.
Yeah.
Please tell me they're not having prime rib.
No, my understanding is not.
You see that face?
We've already had that discussion on the show.
This will be meat that's actually cooked.
Yeah, this meat will actually be cooked. Eureka West Shore Lodge number 302 will be having its stated meeting coming up the first Monday of the month. And then Saturday, May 7th. It's a little bit further out than our next episode, but it's a busy, busy day at the Valley of Harrisburg. The Children's Dyslexia Center housed there will be having its graduation that morning, followed by a seafood fest sponsored by the Valley of Harrisburg in the afternoon. And then at 5 p.m., if anyone's still standing, we will retire for our Kentucky Derby party, where everybody will dress up with funny hats. And they keep talking about wanting to do mint juleps, but I've told them we can't be messing up good bourbon with all that mint.
Oh, hogwash.
So I agree.
You're a purist.
I agree. No, I am a purist. That's true. So, again, I'll be spending a lot of time at the Valley of Harrisburg because of all of the rehearsals and
the cigars.
Stuff. And the cigars. Well, there is that, right?
One of the things I remembered about Millersville 476, their May meeting, the first Tuesday in May, is we're doing the Rusty Nail degree, correct?
Oh, yeah, I forgot I'm going to be out of town.
And as a group, there are Maryland Masons coming in to do that.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that.
No.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
Well, that's all right. So it's good to see everybody again. Our next episode.
Well, wait a minute before we go.
Okay.
Let us remember our brother Pete.
Yes, you're missed.
Who is not here tonight for this recording session. Pete is floating down a river somewhere in Europe
with repeat
with his lovely wife Stephanie, and I just want to say I'm jealous as hell. And it's not that I want the boat to sink, but I hope you're having fun. We're having fun in your name. Amen. So mote it be.
Indeed. We have an empty chair in your honor, Pete. We were hoping for a Moyer-like call-in, but I think the time difference kind of got us. So, all right. As I was about to say, you'll definitely want to tune in to our next episode. We have a very special guest coming in for episode 138, the Right Worshipful past Grand Master of Free and Accepted Masons.
Tell me what's his name.
Of Pennsylvania and Masonic jurisdictions thereunto belonging for the Thomas Gammon IV. So, guys, bring your dues cards. We'll have to set them on the table and hopefully
he's passed.
Yeah. He's passed. Well, but he has the hotline.
He's a right worshipful has-been.
He's a right worshipful.
He's a right worshipful.
That's right. All right, Josh, time to let those chickens out. Larry, get us out of here.
Hey, special thanks to Effort Lodge 665.
Chickens were getting a little too close there.
Yeah.
Steroid-based chickens, yeah.
Thanks, Effort Lodge 665. And I've said this so darn many times, you know why we're thanking you. To our producer-director, Josh Lamberton. Jack Harley, our news director, Tim Dedman. Our marketing director, our special contributors, Doug Maddenford and Michelle Snyder, and soon to be what's his name?
Austin Schifrin.
Austin Schifrin. There you go. Dude, his name is on the board.
He was the special guest of episode 135.
God, his name is on the board.
It's written in front of you. All you had to do was read the card.
Yeah.
Ron Burgundy.
Yeah. Did I cover everybody? I guess I did.
I think so.
And I have no stories to tell.
Hallelujah.
And I have nothing. So, this is it. So thanks for listening. This is Larry Merris.
This is Tim.
Jack. Tommy.
Josh.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Good evening. Good night.